I have no problem with it. I'll whore myself out.
Me, I'd be like, dude, you're fired. Like, I wouldn't be crying at all.
And we won't give her a whole lot to do other than just kind of hang out and look pretty.
I think, man, you're just being kind of a baby right now.
If you want to get an idea of like 80s era New York, hedonistic, self-involved culture, this is the film. Bright Lights, Big City, a Michael J. Fox film directed by James Bridges, which is funny because I always think of the actor
Jeff
Jeff
Bridges.
Bridges. Yeah,
Maybe they're brothers.
yeah, it could be. Written by Jay McLearney, Jay
Jay
McTierney,
McLaren,
Jay McLearney.
based on his book, right? He wrote the book Bright Lights, Big City, right?
Yeah, I love the book. I think it's great and the way it's written because like it's very unusual writing style where he's like, you are here and you're doing this. So he's basically saying the reader is the main character in the book. So he's like, you're at a dance club and snorting coke off of a da 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 countertop. And it's like, so it's an interesting
Yeah,
way of
it's
writing.
what do they call that? First person or something
Yeah,
where
it's
he
first.
makes you the character and he says
Mhm.
you, this is what you're doing. It's a
Yeah.
very interesting style.
Yeah. And they take some of that with the voiceover in the film of having him do the voiceover in order to bring that aspect of it too, I think a little bit as well.
Yeah. So you were watching this movie anyway for another project you're doing. And then I was like, wow, I haven't seen this movie in forever. And we think it's kind of overlooked because when you think Michael J. Fox, there are a lot of films he's in. And this isn't like the one that comes up. Like nobody says when you say Michael J. Fox, they're like, "Oh yeah, from Bright Lights, Big City." No, it does. So it's kind of overlooked. So I thought, and you thought, we thought it would be good to check this movie out again. So I watched it. You watched it. It's on Tubi right now. So we're gonna check it out. We're gonna check out our buddy Michael J.
Yeah,
And see how this movie goes.
there you go. Well, should we start by summarizing it real quick?
Yeah, sure. I like this movie because it's about a guy named Jamie who's going downhill in his life. And I'm like, dude, I could totally relate. But it's funny because every day it follows the week of this young guy, he's 24 or something, and every day it's a new thing. And he's addicted to Coke and he's always in trouble at work. He's an editor, which was crazy because like they have books all over the place and he's got to call people to verify facts. I'm like, shit, we need some of that 1980s fact checking action in today's world.
Now you're just
But
like
he's a
Google, da 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 da. Yep, something came back, so I'm assuming whatever source I'm looking at is correct. So
yeah,
yeah,
it's on the internet, it's true.
yeah,
But back then I mean maybe they still do now, but maybe not as rigorous as they were back then because they got books everywhere and he's calling people. So he's an editor for this
fact
magazine.
checker, I think actually.
Yeah, fact checker, editor. Yeah, so he's checking facts for this magazine, and everything has to be super precise. So he works for this. He calls her like this fourth grade teacher, this mean fourth grade teacher, and it seems like everybody at his office likes him for some reason, even though he's not particularly likable. Really, he's pretty self-absorbed. He's doing coke all the time, and he's partying with his friend, so-called friend Allagash, who's played by Keither Sutherland.
Well cast. Like anytime you kind of need to cast just kind of a dick character, I think, especially in the 80s, for some reason, Kiefer Sutherland was always a good choice for that. You
He's
know?
a good dick.
Yeah.
It's true, and he really is kind of a dick. So it's really he's just doing the whole 1980s cocaine in New York City nightlife scene, which is funny because he's at this club and they're finally closing down in the morning, and they'll be like, and then they were like, "We'll be open tonight at 11 p.m." And I'm like, "Wow." In the Seattle area, things close at 2, and that's it. Like everything closes at 2.
Yeah.
So New York City's kind of hopping.
Hey, in London, everything closes at 11. So
Yeah.
when that place is opening in New York, it's everything in London is closing.
Yeah, so he's not doing well in his job because he's partying all night and sniffing coke with his friend and trying to hook up with girls, and he's just doing all this, and for some reason he's really obsessed with this tabloid story about a coma baby.
I don't remember that from the book either. Like when I watched the film, I'm like, is that in the book? It must be, but I don't
Yeah,
remember
and
it for
there's
some
something
reason.
very Fight Clubbish about it because he has this vision of like he's talking to the coma baby. So the woman's belly is transparent, and he's like, "I don't want to come out." And he's like, "You got to come out. You're hurting your mom. I don't care. We'll both go down together." He's talking to the coma baby in a vision, and it was very. I think maybe Fight Club had a maybe it was kind of Fight Clubbish in a way. I wonder if Fight Club had maybe a little bit of inspiration from this movie because that whole vision with the coma baby and the whole coma baby thing is weird.
Hmm.
Um, so anyway, he's what he's really doing, Jamie, is he's really hiding from pain. So he was with his mom while she was sick and died, and his brothers keeps calling, trying to get a hold of him. He's avoiding his family. His wife left him, Phoebe Cates, because she's kind of like, once she got to New York and she kind of used him to get out of the town they were in, and she became a model, and she's like, "See ya, I'm out of here." So he's really down and out for a young guy. So he's just kind of sniffing coke and partying and losing his job, and that's kind of and it kind of goes. That's pretty much kind of it.
Yeah.
There really isn't much of a plot. It's really this guy escaping his pain through hedonism. And I think it's really about kind of the just how surface level and kind of fake his whole life is really. It's interesting. It was an interesting book, and it's an interesting movie adaptation of this book.
Yeah, the movie apparently went through quite a few drafts. They had an early script that Jay wasn't actually involved in all that much, that removed all of the drug usage at some point. And they're like, I'm like, that's kind of like a main theme of this
That's
film.
kind of the core of this is
Yeah.
like coke. A lot of cocaine is
Yeah.
involved with
Yeah.
this.
They went through a couple directors. Joyce Chopra was originally directing it. And then about a week in, she got replaced by James Bridges, which makes sense. Joyce's stuff is kind of a bit more family friendly, probably back in the day. And James, like he did the China Syndrome and what was the other one that I was looking at? Another one that's Urban Cowboy. That's right. So, a bit stuff with a bit more gravitas to it. So I think he was
Mm,
the right director to take over the role, but apparently he took it over like last minute, like got the call on a Friday and more or less read the book, showed up Monday, started rewriting the script with along with Jay because they then rewrote it and went back to an original script that Jay wrote or something like that. So there was a lot of kind of behind the scenes stuff that happened. Apparently, Tom Cruise was going to play the role at some point, but didn't want
mm.
to necessarily taint his image by smoking or snorting coke at that age, and so a lot of stuff went around. And I think some of that kind of came through in the film, but I think it works for it because it is that kind of scattered, kind of uncomfortable, the
Hmm.
nightlife, drug life of being tired, and Michael J. Fox, of course, is like on a break between family ties. And props to Michael J. Fox, dude. So like he was doing Family Ties, then did Back to the Future while filming Family Ties during the day, and in the evening Back to the Future, goes on a
Yeah.
break from Family Ties, shoots this, goes back and shoots more Family Ties, shoots like Casualties of War or something like that, another dramatic, serious film. Secret of My Success and all this stuff. Like the dude was like working 24/7 back then. It's amazing.
Michael J. Fox is a hardworking actor. Yeah. That's why
Mhm.
I think that's why he was so prolific too. Like he was in a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
movies and television. He's kind of all over the place
Yeah.
because I think he's just, I don't know, maybe it's all the coke Michael J. Fox does because that guy's got a lot of energy or something.
Yeah. Yeah. I think back then he did have a bit of he drank a lot, to my understanding. I read his autobiography
Oh,
and he talked about it a little bit. But I should point out, true too, his like future wife, Tracy Pollan, was in this.
oh,
So they met,
Wow.
yeah, they met on Family Ties, but when they did this film, that's actually kind of when they started dating. So even though the film was a financial bomb, he did meet his wife on here.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah.
That's worth it. And she's a cool lady. She's been really supportive of him. Um,
Oh yeah.
yeah, they've got yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, they've been
Do you
together.
know do you know who else was in this movie? David Hyde Pierce. This was his debut.
He had like one line or something like that. Like, yeah.
Yeah, well, and it's funny because it cost him more to join the Screen Actors Guild than they were paying him, so he had to borrow money from his agent.
Yeah.
And then he was the bartender at the fashion show, and he had one line, "Sorry, the bar is closed." So he lost money in this role.
It's awesome.
Just to take it, he had to pay more just to take it.
Just to get a
But I
credit.
guess you got to do that's what you got to do if you want to be an actor sometimes, I guess, right?
It's true though, like especially when you're starting off, sometimes you got to lose money in order to eventually make money because you want to get those credits. You're going to be like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I was in a feature film. I had a line.
Sometimes you got to whore yourself out. Remember that, Milo, when you're taking roles. Sometimes you got to be that whore, dude.
I do. I have no problem with it. I'll whore myself out.
And there was a scene that I thought was funny though. So Jamie, he's an aspiring writer, and he even, I don't know, kind of goes back and forth with this girl about words that start with D because they like drugs. It's all very kind of hip and like 80s overeducated, but we like the nightlife, New York City kind of thing. But he goes to his typewriter. It's an electric typewriter, and I don't know, sometimes when you watch old movies, it's like kind of funny to see like that. Is that what the writers used to use, like actual paper with the electric typewriter?
We're like,
Like,
tap, tap, tap,
and
tap,
he's
tap,
typing
tap, tap.
away and it's making all this noise. And I'm like, I don't remember. Like, if you type something with a typewriter on paper, how do you reproduce that? Like, how do you make copies of it? How do you publish stuff like that?
Well,
And
I'm
I
sure they have
started thinking,
copy machines and stuff, right?
I guess so, but like, what if you're Stephen King and you got your paper and you're writing, and then you give it to your publisher or editor, and you're like, here it is, and then they're like, cool, we're gonna make this into a book. How do they make it into a book?
I'm sure they
It's
got people there that retype it and they make copies. Well, Stephen King, was it Cujo or Carrie? One of his early books, he threw it in the trash. And so he actually typed it up, threw it in the trash, and his wife made him take it out of the trash. Like she actually grabbed it out of the
oh, could
trash
have
and
been
rescued
trash.
it.
See, there's no electronic copies, so.
Yeah. So
But yeah, Jamie is an aspiring writer, but he's not writing much because he's he's not even doing his fact check job well. And everybody seems to be pretty supportive of him. So he's got this woman at work that's really kind of concerned about him a lot. And she even they go back to her apartment, and he even kind of gets like a little sexual, but she's like, that's not what you want. And she's kind of being motherly to him. And then
yeah,
even when his boss fires him, she's really upset that she has to do it, and she's almost crying. And me, I'd be like, dude, you're fired. Like I wouldn't be crying at all. I wonder why they care about this. Maybe because he's a young guy. Maybe they why they care about him so much. Because I don't know. I'm kind of older now, and I look at this guy. He's like half my age. I think, man, you're just being kind of a baby right now. I understand you went through trauma, and that sucks, but really you're just self-absorbed. And he's hanging out with self-absorbed people, so his friend Allagash is totally hedonist, and the only thing he wants to do is party. And his wife is a total like, I just want to get into the scene, and she's so shallow. And I started thinking, have you ever had friends like that,
yeah,
where they're just shallow as shit, and all they're all about the good time, but if it's anything deeper than that, it's like they're gone. Have you ever
yeah.
had friends like that?
100%. Or like just into themselves so much to where you like, if you call them out for like how into themselves they are, they get pissed at you. And it's
Yeah.
like, dude, seriously, like, yeah, there's more. Yeah, I have a very specific name in my head of a friend like that that I had. No, not you. You know, no,
Okay.
no, 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 no. But I said had Jamie, not one of my current
Okay.
self-involved hedonistic friends.
Okay.
Past what?
Oh, okay. One of the ones from the past.
There you go.
Not your current
Yeah,
hedonistic,
exactly.
self-absorbed friend. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
That's good.
But you are right, because this guy's like a terrible coworker, and they're all just so like sympathetic to him. And I get, okay, your mom died, your wife left you, so there's a certain level of sympathy, but at some point that runs out, right? Like the mother had died like a year ago. I don't know when the wife left or any of that kind of stuff, and I don't even think he told them about the wife leaving. I think
Yeah,
he was
well,
still kind of implying
or
that they were
maybe they
kind of,
know.
yeah.
But I kind of get it. I mean, I went through my own family traumas
Oh
and
yeah,
wife leaving or not leave. I left, but whatever, wife marriage issues and
marriage ends,
all of
certainly.
that kind of stuff. And I probably was out trying to drown that quite a bit more than I should have been. So I get it. I guess now that I'm older, I kind of look at it in a different way. But if you're kind of younger, maybe it's you don't know how to deal with it as well.
I don't know, because I've always, yeah, I've gone through like shit too, right?
Hmm.
But I somehow still managed to get up and go to work and do my job. Like I kind of always managed to separate that from my personal life. I know a lot of
Hmm.
people might have a hard time with it. So that part, I don't know. But it helps
Yeah,
create drama for the film
that's
or the
true.
book, I
And
guess.
it kind of reminds me of my Tokyo days when I was in the Navy. So I used to hang out in Tokyo at the clubs, even places they don't want military people, but I was kind of fashionable and stuff, and they didn't know I was really a military guy. And I used to listen to a lot of the club music that they had in this movie because they had clubs that kind of played stuff that was kind of 10 years old
Mhm.
because it was more like maybe people pushing 30. So I used to hang out with the older crowd. And I was thinking how cool it was. But now I look back and I see just how shallow people were. Really shallow. And they're so into and it's everything's so cool and kind of glammy. But if you get down to it, none of these people are really your friends. It's all about the good time. It's all about the hedonism. And if you actually had a, went one layer deeper with any kind of conversation, they'd freak out, right? Like,
Yeah.
no, we're here to party, and that's all. That's the basis of our friendship. So that I think it, I don't know if we're doing spoilers, but kind of toward the end, he kind of starts to realize like how shallow his so-called friends are. Um,
We should mention, yeah, we haven't kind of mentioned Kiefer Sutherland, but I think that was good casting in that role. And apparently, when Michael J. Fox took the part, he suggested Kiefer for actually that particular road of Alias.
yeah, and Kiefer's interesting because he can play the good guy.
Yeah.
He can play like the doc in Young Guns or 24. So when he plays the good guy, he is, but when he plays the dick, he's a real good dick too. Like he's really good at kind of switching back and forth from being like the good guy to the kind of real asshole kind of guy. So I like Kiefer Sutherland. I think he's really good at acting.
Yeah, it's interesting because I mean he's had a long career and he gets a lot of credit, but I don't know if he gets enough credit for actually having the range that he has as an
Yeah,
actor.
yeah,
I think
totally.
people recognize him as, a leading actor, but I don't know if he gets the credit for the range because he does do a nice variety of roles.
Yeah. Yeah, so
And then Phoebe Cates, unfortunately, gets stuck doing a typical Phoebe Cates role from the 80s of just looking pretty, not
yeah,
talking
she
very
doesn't have a
much.
lot to do in this movie.
It's like Fast Time at Ridgemont High's Phoebe Cates. They're like, oh,
Yeah.
let's get the girl from Fast Times. She's pretty, and we won't give her a whole lot to do other than just kind of hang out and look pretty.
Yeah, because she's a model.
Yeah. So,
And you could tell kind of how self-absorbed they are too, because the picture above their bed is of her getting like these big kind of black and white painting things or photos of her getting fitted for being a mannequin. So
oh yeah, that's right.
she ended
Yeah, they
up
based a
kind of a
mannequin on it.
mannequin model,
Mhm.
and then that's like the big thing in their house. So you can tell just how really self-absorbed it is. It really is a very 80s film.
Mhm.
How self-absorbed and excess and cocaine and
Yeah,
and
small apartments and staying up all night and
yeah, and
Oh,
kind of hip, cool suit, shirt and tie. I'm an editor at the magazine.
hmm.
That was cool back then, as
Yeah.
being a fact
Okay.
checker at a magazine.
Yeah.
People would kill to have a job like yours. Really? Seemed pretty tedious to
You
me.
gotta sit and wait on a call from like Paris at 3 in the morning to that's when they get back to you.
Yeah, check little things.
Check a
That's
fact.
your job, and everybody thinks he's so hip and cool.
Hmm. Ooh, you're a writer. Ooh, fancy.
Ooh, you fact check stuff with all your books in the background.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think of Michael J. Fox's casting? Do you think it was the right role? Because that's part of the criticism that I think some of it got is because he's got that, especially then, that really kind of goody two shoes, nice guy thing. And in general, that's kind of his look. And I think that might have part of the reason why the movie didn't do very well financially is because people had a hard time picturing Michael J. Fox as like this, coked out New York kind of guy.
Yeah, I think he did a good job. But I get it. He is, but if you look at it, maybe he is a goody two shoes kind of guy who went downhill. He's from maybe a small town somewhere in the Midwest or something, and he comes from a family that loves him. His brother's looking for him, so maybe he is a goody two shoes kind of guy who just fell off his rocker and went down a path. So I don't mind the casting. I can maybe see other actors at the time who maybe would have been good as well, but I think he's okay.
Yeah.
I think he's all right. How about you?
Yeah, I agree. Like I'm in general a fan of Michael J. Fox, and we know he can do drama because like I just mentioned, he did Casualties of War, which was a very serious
Hmm.
film. But it is
But
kind of
it
hard to
also didn't
see.
do well either.
Yeah, exactly. So
His
that's what
dramas
I'm
don't
saying.
seem to
Like,
do as well. Yeah.
yeah, when he does a comedy, especially in the 80s, people are like, yeah. But when he
Yay.
does
And
something
then
serious, they're like, no,
not you. No
not
drama for
Michael.
you, Michael J. Fox.
Yeah.
Stick to the fun
He's like
stuff.
everybody wants to be his brother, he's like our favorite
Don't
brother.
get too heavy on us, Michael. It's
Yeah.
not gonna work, bro. We're not gonna go see your shit.
Yeah. I don't know, like, because it's kind of funny. I don't know if I've ever known anybody that's been like heavily addicted to cocaine. So
Hmm.
I don't know how that affects you too much physically or whatnot, because he does look quite healthy in this film, but I also don't know how much coke he was doing at this point. The character is that
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Well, and he's coughing sometimes, so
Yeah.
he's got the cough. So, but yeah, when you're young, you can get a like 20, he's like what, 24, the character. You can still get away with a lot at that age.
True. Yeah. Your body will be like, yeah, it's good.
Nice.
Get a
It
couple hours
must
of
be
sleep.
nice. Me, I get it. Like I have that second glass of Cabernet. I'm like, "Man, I gotta go to bed now."
Yeah, it's pretty much it. Yeah. It's like, oh, no, just one beer. If I get more than one beer, I'm gonna feel like crap tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. One
So
glass
what do
of
you
wine.
think? What are you
Um,
giving it, bro?
so I am gonna give it a thumbs up. Like I could say it's a bit of a soft thumbs up, but
Hmm.
because I don't know, like it doesn't really land as well as it should for some reason. And I'm not too sure why, but in general, I like it. I think Michael J. Fox is good in the role, as we just said. All the casting was brilliant. I love the book. And maybe that's why too, is because I really like the book and it's hard to like a movie as much as you like a book. The
Hmm.
book goes into so much more detail that you don't get in a film. But yeah, I'm gonna go thumbs up on it.
Yeah, I'll go thumbs up too. I think it has its issues,
Hmm.
but it really kind of explores kind of this guy trying to escape his pain through hedonism, and that's kind of it. It's really kind of a
Yeah.
simple story, really. Um, and it really it brings you back into the 80s, um, in a lot of ways. So it's a good period piece.
Oh, definitely. If you want to get an idea of like 80s era New York, hedonistic, self-involved culture, this is the film.
And
Right.
electric typewriters
And cocaine off
and fact checking in real in like books.
magazines and phones on people's desks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, no, it's definitely overlooked. I think, and I think it's just because it's a Michael J. Fox film. And people are like,
Yeah. Give it a shot. It's on Tubi, at least it's the time of recording this. So
Yeah,
go
there you
check it
go.
out, people.